Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome again, brothers here and those of you online. We had some internet issues. Sorry about that, guys. And Maghrib prayer here is getting later and later. It's getting close to 8. So I think maybe next week we'll start 15 minutes later. So 8:15, inshallah. We can put that in the groups as well as a reminder. Well, until the end of the year, we got to go like this. And then we have a break at the end of the year anyway, inshallah. Well, today we will continue with the 6th word. We're up to 6th word from the RİSALE-İ NUR. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Elhamdülillahi Rabbil alemin. Ve salatu ve selamu ala eşrefi halk seyyidul enam. Muhammedur Resulullah sallallahu teala aleyhi ve sellem. Euzu billahi mineşşeytanirracim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Subhaneke la ilme lena illa ma allamtena inneke entel alimul hakim. Subhaneke la fehme lena illa ma fehemtena inneke entel cevadul kerim. Rabbi şrah li sadri ve yessir li emri ve hlul ukdeten min lisani yefkahu kavli ve ufevvidu emri ilallah innallaha basirun bin ibad. So as you know, as I mentioned before as well, these first 9 words of the RİSALE-İ NUR, they are short words. They are also called short words themselves. And they are mainly, short stories, where from the story he always connects to the reality. And he does this here as well with this word. And then the 10th word of the RİSALE-İ NUR goes into life after death. Proofs and evidence for Ahire, life after death. And that's a very long chapter, that one. So we'll continue with these ones for now. In the name of Allah, the merciful, the compassionate, verily Allah has purchased. This is an interesting verse in the Quran. Allah has bought from the believers their persons, their nafs, and their property, that paradise might be theirs in return for paradise. What does the verse mean? He's going to explain that. If you wish to understand how profitable a trade is and how honorable a rank, to sell one's person, nafs, and property. Nafs is usually a type of your soul, but it is, some people describe it as it is like an interface as you have in the computers, between the soul and the body. Because nafs is usually your, animalistic side. And it has a connection to your brain, your soul, and to your physical body as well. That is where all your desires originate from. That's what the nafs is. All worldly desires, animalistic desires originate from your nafs, and your soul is more pure. It is a metaphysical being, the soul, which cannot be really defined with physical laws. It's beyond that, because the Quran clearly states that Kuli ruhu min emri rabbi. It is a command from your Lord, which we have not given you much information. Only a little information from soul has been given to you. So we don't exactly know what the soul is, but we know it is not from alemi khalq, which is the realm of creation, because realm of creation, all the physical things that God created in the universe. The soul is from alemi emr, meaning that from the realm of commandments. It is a commandment of Allah. So it's a very interesting substance, but it exists. We all have souls. So when he talks about your person here, he's actually referring to our nafs, our body, our desires, which includes the human being in regards to his or her physical side. So if you want to know how profitable a trade you can make and how honorable a rank that you can reach if you sell your nafs and your property to Allah to be his servant and his soldier, then listen to the following analogy. So again, an analogy here. Once a powerful king entrusted each of two of his subjects with an estate, including all necessary workshops, machinery, horses, weapons, and so forth. So this powerful king gave two of his servants a huge estate to each of them, like a huge farm that has everything in it, including all the workshops, machinery, horses, whatever he needs. But since it was a tempestuous times and war-ridden age, and nothing enjoyed stability, everything was, going through up and down, in a state of up and down. Nothing was, stable. It was destined, the farm, the place he gave to them, it was destined either to disappear, get destroyed, or to change. So the king, in his infinite mercy, sent a most noble lieutenant to the two men by means of a compassionate decree, conveyed the following to them. So what the king does, because it's turbulent times, it's obvious that they're not going to be able to manage their own estates. They're going to have hardship, difficulty. They're going to lose it. It's going to disappear anyway. So the king has infinite mercy, sends this very noble sergeant, let us say, or official, to these two men through a compassionate decree. So he takes a decree to them. And this decree includes this: sell me the property you now hold in trust. Because those property that I gave you, it's not yours anyway. Entrusted. You're there for a temporary time. You use that. You can utilize them, but you have them for a temporary time. You trust. They've been entrusted upon you, so that I may keep it for you. The king is saying, so that I may preserve it for you. I may protect it for you. Let it not be destroyed without a purpose. Otherwise, it's going to go anyway. After these turbulent times, these wars are over, I will return it to you in a better condition than before. The king is offering. I will regard the trust as your property and pay you a high price for it as well. The king is saying, it was the king's property anyway in the first place. He gave it to them. But now he's saying, it looks like you're not going to be able to maintain it. It's going to be destroyed. You don't have that ability. So give it to me, give it back to me for safekeeping or just to look after it. So it's not destroyed without a purpose. After these turbulent times, I will return it to you in a better condition than before. I will regard the trust as your property, the king is saying, and pay you a high price for it as well. Imagine, someone is giving you a house, let us say, and then there are difficulties. Something is happening, wars happening and things like that. That person who gave you the house, he comes to you and says, look, let me look after the house for you. It's still your house. And after these turbulent times passes, I will give the house back to you in a much better condition. And on top, I will pay you a high price for it. That's a very interesting trade, isn't it? As for the machinery and the tools in the estate, in the workshop, they will only be used in my name and at my workbench. So all these machinery that I gave you in your estate, they will be used in my name. They are still yours, but they will be used in my name. but the price and fee for their usage shall be increased by 1,000 folds. So let us say the king gave this person, 2 people, 1 machine, and it produces some products. The king is saying, let this machine that I gave you be used in my name. The products that it produces, it will be 1,000-fold. Their value will increase. You will receive all the profit that comes from them. It occurs. You are indigent and resourceless and unable to provide the cost for these great tasks anyway. So let me assume the provisions and all the expenses and the equipment for you and give you all the income and the profit. Who would not accept a deal like that? You got to be out of your mind not to accept a deal like that. So it's because someone is giving you some wealth and then they're saying, look, use this wealth under my name and everything that you make out of them, it'll go back to you anyway. It'll be yours. And on top, I will pay a price for it because you used it in my name. It's very interesting. So you will receive all the profits because you don't have the ability to look after these things anyway, and I will provide all the necessary things to keep them running. You shall keep these properties until the time of demobilization. Demobilization. Demobilization means, until you move from one place to another place, until you shift. So the 5 ways in which you shall profit, so see the 5 ways in which you shall profit. Now, if you do not sell this property to me, it was mine in the first place anyway, you can see that no one is able to preserve what they have already. Everyone is losing their properties. You can see it anyway. So you will lose what you now hold as well. It will go for nothing without any value. And you will also lose the high price that I offer for it. The delicate and precious tools and scales, the precious metals waiting to be used, will also lose all of their values as well. You will have the trouble and concern of administrating and preserving, but at the same time be punished for betraying your trust. Because you are not using them in my name, all the burden of running this estate will be upon your shoulders, which you cannot manage anyway. And you will lose the offer that I made to you on top of that. But for betraying my trust, you will also be punished. So, see the 5 ways in which you may lose. Moreover, if you sell the property to me, you will become my soldier. You will act in my name. Instead of a common prisoner, an irregular soldier, you will be a free officer, a lieutenant of an exalted king. So this is the story. After these 2 men listened to this gracious decree, the more intelligent of the men, of the 2, said, by all means, I am proud and happy to sell it to you. I offer my thanks on top 1,000-fold. But the arrogant man, the selfish and dissipated, his soul had become so proud, like a pharaoh. It's me, As if he was to stay eternally on that estate, he ignored the earthquakes, the tumults of this world, the turbulence of this world. He said, no, who is the king? I won't sell my property, and I won't spoil my enjoyment. After a short time, the first man reached a so high rank that everyone envied his state. He received the favor of the king, and he lived happily in the king's own palace. The other, by contrast, fell into such a state that everyone pitied him, but also said he deserved it. For as a result of his mistake, his error, his happiness and property departed, and he suffered punishment and torment on top. Now, O my soul, my nafs, full of caprices, look at the face of the truth through the telescope of this parable. This was an analogy. As for the king, in the example, he is the monarch of pre-eternity and post-eternity. So he is Qadim, beginningless. Allah is beginningless. And he is endless as well. It's only message. He is endless as well. And he is your sustainer. He is Razzaq and creator, Khalik. That is the king. The estate, machinery, tools and scales and machines that, which was your possessions, which he gave, while in life's fold, is your body, your spirit, your heart, within those possessions. So that estate was your body, including your soul, your spirit, everything in the example. And your outward and inward senses, such as the eye, the tongue, the intelligence, the imagination, it included all of them. As for the most noble officer, it was the noble messenger of Allah, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So he is the one who brought the king's decree, which is the Quran. And the most wise decree is the wise Quran, which describes the trade we are discussing in this verse. So that's what that verse means when it says, sell me your nafs, I'll preserve it for you, use it in my name, your body, and I will return it to you in a better condition and with a much higher price, which is paradise. Verily, the verse says, Allah has purchased from the believers their persons and their property, that paradise might be theirs. So the surging field of the battle of this tempestuous surface of the world, which ceaselessly changes, the world is always changing, dissolves and reforms and causes every man to think, every human being to think. You know, in the story said it's turbulent times. It is turbulent times all the time, isn't it? Everything is always changing in this world. People are dying, new ones are coming. You know, with us there are no guarantees, you know. As I mentioned many times, a little tiny bacteria can come into our body, we're gone. You know, we'll be in the hospital if it's serious thing, trying to survive, fighting for our lives. We are not that strong, you know. We are weak beings. So it is turbulent times. It seems like everything in this world is against us. That's how it seems like. Including time. Time is the biggest enemy. Because every day we go home, sleep, next day we wake up, another day removed from our lives. Every day we're getting, you know, weaker and older. That's the reality. So it is turbulent, this earth. There is no stability. There is no guarantees. So the surging field of battle and this tempestuous surface of the world, which ceaselessly changes, dissolves and reforms and causes every human being to think. Since everything will leave our hands, everything will perish, everything will be lost, is there no way in which we can transform it, what we have, into something eternal and preserve it? Every human being thinks about this. If they don't, they are busy with clouding their minds with alcohol, with other things. They have to think about it. When you're younger, you don't think about it too much, you know, most of the time. But as you get older, you realize it. It's going. The building is getting, you know, old. As I mentioned before, you know, the tiles are falling, like Brother Abdul there. You know. All the signs of aging comes on your face, you know, slowly. Yeah? And you get less powerful. You get more ill all the time, more frequently. And the signs that, you know, you are very close to the grave is there. But at the same time, it's not guaranteed that you're going to get old. There are many people in this world die young as well. Die young as well. So, wouldn't you think to yourself, is there something beyond? Can I keep this body for eternity? Can I exist for eternity? Where I wonder if there is a world where there is no illness anymore. I don't get old. I don't get sick. I don't need to go and work hard to earn money, you know. I don't need to look after the whole thing. Everything is in comfort. I can do whatever I wish. I wonder if there's a place like that. I wonder if I can preserve my life. Everyone would think about it, because as you get closer, you're going to start thinking about it more. It's a reality. So, while engaged in these thoughts, he suddenly, or she suddenly, hears the heavenly voice of the Quran. The Quran says, indeed, there is a beautiful and easy way. You can preserve, you know, your life, your existence. Look, this is interesting. There is a beautiful and easy way. It is beautiful and easy, which contains 5 prophets within itself. So what is this way? To sell the trust received back to its true owner. That's what the verse said. This is a trust anyway. You know, we didn't get this from a market or something like that, these bodies. I remember I have an abi, a scholar in Turkey. He's still alive. He's past 80 now. I learned many things from him when I was overseas. And during a Ramadan one time, he said, I went shopping out, you know, for the iftar dinner. I came across this young man. He was in his 20s, and he had a cigarette in his mouth during fast. So he wasn't fasting, you know. And he goes, I needed to say something. And we stopped there, we talked a bit. And he goes, I said to him, what a beautiful blue eyes you got, I said, you know. And he said, thank you, Abi, you know. Thank you, my older brother, you know. And then I said, where did you get them? Did you purchase them somewhere, you know, like this? And the young man said, no, you can't purchase these, you know. Who gave them to you then? And he said, God, you know, Allah gave them to me. And he goes, I started talking a bit. The cigarette fell, he goes, from his finger. He just chucked it, you know. So after a while, you know, he said, I know, Abi, we should fast it. And tomorrow I'm going to, you know, make a niyat, I'm going to fast. After we talked about, you know, an hour or so, he says. So think about it. You know, we should think about it all ourselves. Did we buy this somewhere? No. Did we create ourselves? No. Did our mothers and fathers create us? No. It had nothing to do with them. They only did something that it was within the process of creation. They only played a little part. But in reality, when you're in the mother's womb, you know, as the sperm cell rushes towards the ovum, the egg, it enters it, and then straight away, very quickly, it starts, you know, fertilizing. After that, it starts multiplying. You know, it multiplies by breaking apart. First 2, 4, 8, 16, 32. It keeps on, you know, getting larger and larger and larger. And then it looks like a a piece of little bloody flesh or something. It's nothing else. And then eventually, slowly, it starts taking shape. People can now see it. They have images of ultrasound images, you know, slowly the development. And you see this little tiny shape. Suddenly, you know, arms start to come out, the head starts to shape. Your mother is not doing these things. She doesn't even know what's happening there. Yeah? Someone else is producing this. Some all-powerful, all-knowing being is doing this. So our bodies don't belong to us. We didn't make the decision to come to this world. None of us did. None of us did. Think about your ages, you know. Just go back 1 year before you were born. Did you make the decision? Or did you make the decision to become a human being? Someone else making those decisions, because you're a contingent being. Your existence is dependent on many different things. Many different things. So you're contingent. You don't make decisions in regards to your existence. And the one who makes the decisions, he could have created you as a worm, as a rat. But he made you a human. It's a big blessing. It's a big, big blessing. And he gave you intellect. And when you have this tool, intellect, you can't stop it from thinking. You know, people who say, I don't want to think about this, I don't want to think about this, I'll just enjoy myself, they are deceiving themselves, that's all. Because many times I repeat this in a humorous way, I say, you cannot stop your brain from thinking. If you decide not to think, you will think about not thinking. But you will still be thinking. It is not possible to stop yourself from thinking. So we think and we say, who am I? Where do I come from? Where am I going? What's going to happen to me after I die? We need to think about these things. And the Quran answers and shows us the path very clearly. So the key here is to sell what is being trusted upon us back to its owner. It doesn't mean take my life. It means we use this property on his name. That's what it means. That's what the Quran is saying. So if we do this, there are 5 prophets. The first one, transient, fleeting property becomes everlasting. First prophet. Yes. Yeah, because it's transient, it's gonna, you know, second law of thermodynamics, you know, your body is going to eventually decompose. But this transient thing turns into everlasting thing if you use it on his behalf. For this waning life, when given to the eternal life and self-subsisting Lord, because we are not self-subsisting. If you look at the Sifatullah, which means the attributes of Allah, only belongs to Him. Transient attributes are only, transcendent attributes, we call them Selbi Sifats, only belong to Allah. No one else has them. One of them is self-subsisting. Qiyamu bi nefsi. Which means he does not need external things to continue his existence. It is self-subsisting. He doesn't need nothing, not matter, not quantum, not atoms, not energy, not time, because he created all of them. He is self-subsisting. Self-subsisting Lord of glory, and if you spend it for his sake, will be transmuted into eternity. So your waning life, passing, dying life, if you use it on his behalf, because he is self-subsisting and eternal, your life will transmute into eternal life as well. It will yield eternal fruits. The moments of one's life will be apparently vanish and rot like kernels and seeds. Because all of them, all of our lives, all the moments that we experience in life, eventually will vanish and rot like seeds. Rot like seeds. It's a reality. When we look back, can we go back and, all the things that we did in the past, can we bring them back? No. And very interesting thing that Bediüzzaman Said Nursi uses, I'll say it in Ottoman language. He says, Zevali elem lezzettir, zevali lezzet elemdir. Meaning that, the end of pleasure is pain, end of pain is pleasure. It's a very interesting thing, but it's true. Because when pleasure ends, it's pain. If we look back all the times we had, good times we had, there is no taste left from them in our mouths. And when you remember them, it gives you pain because you cannot do them anymore. But if you're in pain or something, when pain ends, you feel pleasure. You don't need to do something entertaining. You feel pleasure. If you have an even simple thing like a toothache, you go to bed, you turn left, you turn right, you can't stop it, you take tablets. When it passes, the pain gives you pleasure. You say, oh, alhamdulillah, that's beautiful. But nobody on earth, including believers, open their hands to make dua and say, Ya Rabbi, thank you for not giving me a toothache. Because we realize it only how valuable not having a toothache is when we have it. When we realize the blessing. So, if we sell our souls to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it will yield eternal fruits. The moments of one's life will vanish and rot like seeds, but then the flowers of the blessedness and the auspiciousness will open the bloom in the realm of eternity, and each will also represent a luminous, reassuring aspect of the intermediate realm, the alemi berza. So our soul will be like a seed when our body rots. When you chuck a seed onto the ground, let us say a bean, we might bake beans from, the bean. If you look at a bean seed, we eat them too. The seed part is like very tiny, in here, like when it's bent like this, it's there somewhere. It's a very tiny thing. The rest is there to feed that. So when you chuck it into ground, it uses that, whatever minerals, proteins in it, so that a new thing can grow, sprout can grow. So the rest eventually rots away. So the body is like that. The seed is our soul. When we are put into the ground, eventually our body will rot. But the soul will flourish in the hereafter. In the hereafter. But it can turn into a tree of Zakkum in Jahannam, or into a tree of Tuba in Jannat. It depends on how you use it. It depends on how you use it. Yes. So that's one advantage. The second profit is, in exchange for this trade you make with Allah, by selling your soul, your nafs to Allah, the price you will get, remember he said you will get a price as well, the price you will get is paradise in Jannah. Imagine, for a life of 70, 80 years, you're saying, all right, I'll use this body in your name, just for 70, 80 years. In return, you get billions and billions and billions of years where you don't get old anymore, where you don't get sick anymore, where you don't get bored anymore. There is no boredom in Jannah, because each day you will face something new. Each day you will face something new. There's no boredom. Imagine Allah, who created 8.7 million different animals and species and other living beings on Earth. That's the current data now. There may be more. They keep on discovering new species. 8.7 million different species. Have a look at from bacteria to birds to arachnoids to you know, beetles to butterflies. Look at all these different fish, you know. He created so much diversity on Earth. And have a look at how tiny Earth is in the universe. Only is on this tiny, like a dust in the universe, not even. Dust speckle, not even. Because the universe is too big. 2 trillion galaxies. Each galaxy, hundreds and billions of stars. Maybe trillions of planets. That's how big it is. Earth is like dust speckle. And within that little tiny dot, 8 million different species. Now imagine his ability to create, what he can create in the hereafter for us. He's already showing it here to us. And he says, sell your soul to me. In return, I will give you an infinite life in Jannah. There is the deal. Second prophet. The third prophet, the value of your each limb, arm, leg, and senses, nose, eye, you know, tongue, is increased by 1,000-fold. If you don't use it on his behalf, they're gonna rot away anyway. They're gonna rot away. Have a look at people being buried. We see it all the time. If you open the grave, it's gone. The eyes, the first one to go is eyes anyway, when they're in there. Because eyes are the most delicate place, it just goes away, rots away, and then the entire body, and then the bones, and then, you know, thousands of years later, the bones go to, they become fossilized too. Nothing is left. So they're all temporal, passing. But you exist. You exist. If you don't use those limbs on his behalf, they become valueless. But if you use it on his behalf, their value increases. The akal, for example, intelligence, is like a tool. If you do not sell it to Allah, the Almighty, but rather use it for the sake of your nafs, it will become ill-omened, noxious, debilitating tool that will burden you, your weak person, with all the sad sorrows of the past and the terrifying fears of the future. It will descend to the rank of an inauspicious and destructive tool. So if you don't use your intellect, it will work against you. Because it will look at the past will scare you. As I mentioned before, a huge cemetery, millions and billions of people died, rotted away. They're all gone. And using your intellect, you look at the future, you will see the same thing. A huge cemetery waiting for you and all your loved ones too. It will bother you, your intellect. It will descend to the rank of an destructive tool. It is for this reason that a sinful man will frequently resort to drunkenness, frivolous pleasure, in order to escape the vexations and injuries of his intelligence. See? Because human beings are intellectual beings. You can't, as I said, stop yourself from thinking. So what do people do whom don't have iman, don't have faith in these things? And these futuristic, future bothers them because they don't know what's going to happen. They will, grow old and die. So what do? They keep their minds busy with something else. Drunkenness, drugs, other things, games, gambling, various other things. They try to keep it off their minds. But for how long? They get drunk, a few hours later, it clears, you're back, and the brain starts working again. You're only kidding yourself. That's all. Because the pleasures of this life are very short-lived. Think about the most pleasurable things. They're very short-lived. Few minutes, that's all. So you're only kidding yourself, deceiving yourself. But if you sell your intellect, your intelligence to its true owner and employ it on his behalf, then it will become like the key to a talisman, unlocking the infinite treasures of the compassion and the vaults of wisdom that creation contains. There are many things that we don't even know. You will unlock those things, vaults. It will thus rise to a being, a dominical guide, preparing its owner for the eternal bliss. There are scholars, we call them Waliullah, you know. Some of them explains certain things that we cannot even comprehend. They're very unique people, you know. I remember one scholar, when they were talking about the space and things like that, he goes, I know space like the streets of my city. It's very interesting. How are we going to describe that? How are we going to explain this? So certain things are opened for you if you reach that levels. To take another example, the eye, the human eye, is one of the senses, a window through which the soul looks out into this world. If you do not sell it to Almighty Allah, but rather use it on behalf of your own desires and nafs, by gazing upon a handful transient, impermanent beauties, passing beauties, and scenes, it will sink to the level of a pander to lust and concupiscent soul. But if you sell the eye of your eye to the all-seeing maker, Basir, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and employ it on his behalf, and within the limits traced out by him, because he tells you the limits, then your eye will raise to a reader of the great book of the being, a witness to the miracles of the dominical art, and a blessed bee sucking on the blossoms of mercy in the garden of this globe. See the words he used, it's very interesting, isn't it? So, what he's saying, if you use it for yourself, you know, to look at certain things that are not allowed, haram things, scenes and things like that, you will only drop it down to a level, baseless level. But if you use it on his behalf, you will read the entire universe. And you will see the artist behind it. It will gain value. Another example he gives here as well, your tongue. He says that if you use the tongue, which is a sense of taste, and if you don't sell it to your creator, but employ it instead of on behalf of your nafs, animalistic side, for the sake of your stomach, it sinks and declines to the level of a gatekeeper at the stable of the stomach, a watchman in a factory. So, or think about a doorman at a hotel. All right, there's doormen you have in the hotel, rich people coming. They have that dresses, you know. Hey, would you like to come in, sir? Things like that. He says, anyone who gives him the money, enough money, he will let him in. Please pass by. Here's a $200, pass by. Anyone. He goes, but compare that doorman to an inspector, an official, honest inspector. Money doesn't matter. Anyone who comes in and wants to walk in there, he will look for the credential, he will make sure that person will inspect everything, all right? He's saying the tongue is similar, all right? Tongue, if you use it only for the physical body, desires, it will be like the doorman. So if you give it any good taste, he will say, open the door, just send it in there. Send it in there like a doorman. Will not care if it's halal, haram, doesn't matter, as long as it takes a taste out of it. And that taste is temporary. But if it's an inspector, when something comes there, the tongue will say, wait, are you legit? Are you permissible for me to eat, consume? You know, I have to check if my Lord, you know, permits me to have you. Inspector, a valuable rank, then it will permit after that. See how it changes the roles? You're still doing the same thing. But with one of them, you're getting, you know, rewards to enter paradise. With the other one, you're getting nothing. Only a temporary taste. That's all. But you are doing the same thing still. When you do things for the sake of Allah, you're going to eat anyway. You're going to drink anyway. I'm going to drink this anyway. But if I say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim and drink it, I've just earned rewards. I was going to drink it anyway. So, true believers, people who truly believe in Allah, they don't live to eat. They eat to live. Two different things. We eat to live, you know, because it's necessary. So we can be strong. So we can offer our prayers. So we can do good deeds. That's why we eat. But others, they live to eat. They live to eat. They live to achieve worldly things. They are fleeting things. You know, they want a Ferrari. They want a Lamborghini or something like that. They want a 10-bedroom house or something, like a palace, you know. So what if you have it? Either the house will go one day or you will go. One of you will go. When you go, everything you had, everything you worked for, they have no value anymore. When they dig you and put you into that grave, you will be leaving all those things behind. What value them to you? And in the grave, when the angels come and start asking you questions according to Quran, you know, in the Barza, Alemi Barza, intermediate realm, they're not going to ask you how rich were you on earth. Were you famous, you know? Did everyone clap you? You know, were you a star? They're not going to ask you that. They are going to ask you, did you live your life according to what Allah said? That is the question they're going to ask there. Will we be able to answer those questions? That is the most important thing. So, inshallah, let us at least have the intention to live that way, because the first hadith that appears in most of the hadith books, including the famous Riyaz Salihin, the book Riyaz Salihin, the first hadith is innamal a'malu binniyat. Actions depend on intentions. So Allah looks at our intentions. If we have good intention, we want to do something good, even if we don't achieve it, we get the reward, because we intended to do it. But if we have the intention to do something bad, we don't get, you know, punishment from Allah if we intended, until we do it. It's the other way. But the other one, you get rewards just for intending. So this is all advantage, isn't it, Adam? We intend to do good, inshallah. Even if we can't do it, we don't have the means, we will still be rewarded. Okay, inshallah, we can stop there. Thank you everyone for your participations. There were a few more points, but we'll see if we can follow it next week, inshallah, because this is a good topic. So, Ecmain. Tekabbel minna bi hurmetil Fatiha. Everyone online, thank you for joining as well. Assalamu alaikum.